So I'm just going to log in here, and I'm going to be logging in as an HR user, a core HR user, if you will. And what happens when I log in, the system recognizes me as a specific user. And we recognize that there are many different types of users. So coming into our application, you could be a core HR user, you could be a benefit user, you could be a recruiter, you could be a manager, you could be an employee. So regardless of what type of profile I have, when I log into the system, I come in, it determines what I'm allowed to do as a user in the system here. In other words, what modules I have access to, and also what subset of the employee population I have access to. So when you get down to a manager level, for example, and the manager has 5 people reporting to them, when they look at screens in the system here or they look at reports or whatever, they're only seeing the 5 people that report to them. And so we have that database level security, and we have functional security, which determines exactly what you can and cannot do as a user. So when I log in here, I have my landing page that I come to. This landing page is loaded with dashboards here and graphics of things that potentially I may want to see on a daily basis when I first come into the system. So I'm just going to walk you through a couple examples here, because your screen does not necessarily need to be this overloaded with dashboards, but I just have several different examples here. So for example, if I come in here and I happen to be an HR user, I may be interested in seeing this. And this graph here is showing me the breakout of the divisions within our company as a whole and how it breaks out in a pie. Over here on the right-hand side, our departments are within the divisions. So if I were to select a slice of the pie here and double-click on it, you can see the contents of this department composition changes, and it's showing you what the makeup of these individuals are. Over here on the right-hand side, we do have a performance management system in our application that comes with it. And you can get a quick snapshot of what the average performance evaluation rating is for the people in this particular division. So this is just showing you a couple of examples of what type of dashboards you could be presented with when you log in. Now, there's a lot more great functionality from these dashboards. For example, if we wanted to look at this 32.8% department makeup, you can also add double-click this, and it'll open up a window and show you who the people are in that department, things like that. Going down to the middle here a little bit, this is showing me a graph over the course of a year, my new hires and my terminations. So once again, these are interactive graphs. If I don't want to see the terminations, I just click on the legend and it shuts them off for me. Again, if I wanted to see who were these 4 new hires in the month of November, double-clicking in here will open up a window and show you who the 4 individuals were. Okay, so we can build that type of drill down into these. Okay. Over here on the right-hand side, if you're doing recruiting, this graph is showing us an area of different positions that we're recruiting for, and the graph is indicating how many people have applied for the position, and we're also indicating what we consider a quality, a quality applicant versus a rejected applicant because they were not qualified. Once again, if you didn't want to see that level of breakout in it, you could just hide it from the legend, but it is there for you to review if you're interested in seeing these things. And this is something a recruiter, or someone who spends their whole life doing nothing but recruiting, when they come into the screens to see this is very helpful for them. And they would be able to double click into the field and see who the new applicants are and maybe start working on the records. Now down below here, also part of our application, we do have a fully operational benefits module that allows you to perform open enrollments and new hire enrollments for new employees coming on. But if you do have an open enrollment season that occurs, most people have open enrollments that take effect at the beginning of each year. During open enrollment time, a benefit user may want to come in here and see how many people have completed their open enrollment and how many people are outstanding. So as I was mentioning earlier, being able to double-click into these can show you who those people are. But we can also tie actions into these grids as well. So for example, if we have 148 people here that did not complete their open enrollment, we may tie an action into double-clicking this. And what that does is sends an automatic email notification out to these 148 people, reminding them that they need to be done with their open enrollment by the end of this week. Otherwise, you know, they're going to get what they had last year. So just as, again, an example of the type of things that can be done. And here we have another graph showing open enrollment status during an open enrollment period as to how things are progressing. So this is just a few examples. And obviously, you know, managers may want to see different things. And once again, if a manager logs in here and they don't have access to the whole organization, and they click on any of these links, they're only going to see the people that report to them or that they have security to actually access. Now in here, we have our first level of our menuing system. And the menuing system is broken out into a variety of different types of activities like recruiting people. This is where you do your day-to-day management for maintenance of employee data. Benefits, talent tracking. This is something specifically you had asked about with regard to education, certifications, license, membership, skills, training, and so forth. So these areas are broken out into functional areas so that if you are someone who spends your whole life doing nothing but talent tracking, then would give you access to this module, and maybe you don't have access to benefits, maybe you don't have access to payroll, you know, whatever it may be. Now, the payroll you see on this menu is for those that are using our payroll system, payroll module as well. It does not come with the system. That is the only thing you're going to see here today that's an extra cost. Everything else that you're seeing here is included with the system. So just quickly to give you an idea of what our application screens look like and how it's navigated. Whenever you go into any of our application screens, I just went into what's called our employee maintenance module. And you as a user will see on a list here all the people you have access to. So if you're a manager, you only have 5 people, you're only going to see 5 people in this list. But if I'm in as an HR general user and I have access to everyone, I'm going to see everyone on the list. So if I'm looking for somebody with a specific name, I can just type in all or part of their name. It'll whittle down the list for me. So I'm looking for this person, Robert Mitchell. And when I select their name from the list, you can see it brings me into a formatted application screen. And you see here we have a group of tabs. So our citizenship tab happens to be our first tab. And this is where you keep information on citizenship and, you know, if you have employees that are not citizens, you can keep track of their visa information or alien registration information and so forth. Over here we have employee status, and this actually keeps track of your life cycle as an employee. You know, you're hired, you may go on a leave of absence, you return from a leave, you may terminate, you may get rehired. All these things are considered activities within your status of the company, and we actually keep historical information on every one of those activities that occur. Incentives as an area where we do things such as bonus, awards, commissions, things like that. Once again, if you're using our payroll system, it would automatically send these payments to the payroll system. But if you are utilizing an interface, like for example, if you wanted to interface any of this data to paychecks, we could send this type of information along into an interface file to them. Okay. We have a job module which keeps track of, you know, job-related information. You know, this associates your job with a salary grade and geographical location indicators, EEO information, and so forth. Again, we keep history on all these items, and we also have the ability to pin this information. So if you know, for example, you're going to be making job changes for someone, you can go into pending, and you can put them in with a future date on it, and then you can process them when the dates become available. This is very handy if you're doing like salary changes, and they all have to be done on a certain day, but you don't want to wait to that day to enter all the data in. You can enter it all in ahead of time and then process it en masse. We do have some optional data screens here where you can put optional variety of different types of things that you may need to keep track of. So we have the organization screen, and this is where we keep track of the organizational structure that the employee may belong to, and we have it broken out. We have a lot of different areas here that you can break out into, but for the most part, usually people have company level, division level, department level, whatever your level makeup is what you would see on this screen. Over here, we keep track of the location that the person is working in if you have multi-locations. These locations and companies and so forth are used to create EEO-1 reports as well. If you are capturing payroll information in the system, we do have formatted payroll screens to capture payroll data. So for example, when you fill out the W-4 form at onboarding time, that will populate this screen. Now much of this information that you see here is actually related to utilizing our payroll system. So like W-2 consents for doing people who want to receive electronic W-2s instead of a hard copy and so forth. We have ACA reporting and so forth. We have all that built into the system. I mentioned we do have a very robust performance management system, and we'll take a look at that when we go into ESS and MSS, so you can see actually how we do that. Okay. But in here you can see the current performance ratings and have access to history and so forth of any performance evaluations that were done. But we'll see that a little bit more when we go into the self-service. This is the personnel area where we have demographic information on the employee, their name and address, and their EEO information and so forth. And then finally we have a salary screen. And on the salary screen here, this is where you would perform maintenance on someone's salary, give them an increase, decrease, whatever it may be. We have this area here of equivalence. So if you're entering somebody's salary in as an annual amount, for example, we'll automatically calculate all the various different equivalencies for you. Based on the salary grade that the person has that's attached to their job, it will go to a table and get the min, mid, and max ranges for that grade, and it will show some of these calculated metrics such as comp ratio, percent of range, and quartile for the individual. And then over here we have a couple graphs to show the salary change history for the employee, where they show in regard to salary ranges by employees within the organization, and perhaps where their quartiles meet within the organization. So one of the other, you'll see here that we have other areas such as utilities and configuration and so forth. Most employees will not see this. A lot of this information are things that we do for you as part of setup and initial configuration. We do have one button here for reporting, which Chris will go into later, but just to show you, when you click on that, it automatically logs you into our reporting tool, and then from here you can create your own reports.